office on a bond package beforehand. Some GOP voters in Wisconsin are expressing their disappointment in former President Trump's decision to skip tonight's debate. Most of the group of voters speaking with Fox News ahead of the debate said not taking part is a missed opportunity for Trump. The voters said that they will look for one of the candidates participating in the debate to emerge as someone who can challenge Trump for the Republican nomination. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Calling all night owls, Buffalo Wild Wings is open late. Fill up on some tasty apps with an ice cold tall beer starting at $4. Late night food and drinks start at $4 from 10 till close at B-Dubs. Limited time at participating locations. Offers, days, and times may vary. Drink responsibly. Void where prohibited. Tax and fees extra.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
I'm a bad man.
13 years after the NCAA shut him down and took his Heisman Trophy, former USC star Reggie Bush is hitting back with a lawsuit. Bush is suing the NCAA for defamation of character. Bush has scheduled a press conference Wednesday morning at the Coliseum to discuss his lawsuit. Bush claims the NCAA made false allegations about him in 2021 when the organization announced it was not reinstating his collegiate records or returning his Heisman Trophy. The NCAA reported that Bush had a pay-for-play arrangement when he was at USC from 2002 to 2005. Bush was also accused of receiving improper benefits, including a mortgage-free home for his family. To this day, Bush has not denied that he accepted improper benefits from an alleged USC booster. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is dedicated to empowering our communities by providing progressive talk radio for our audience. We strive to be an intersectional voice for the voiceless. As a Black-owned and operated station, we are committed to highlighting diverse perspectives and creating safe spaces for meaningful dialogue. We believe that everyone has something unique to bring to these political, economic, social, and cultural conversations, and we don't shy away from the hard conversations about current events. We endeavor to be a beacon of hope and understanding, while boldly challenging listeners to think more deeply about difficult topics that impact us all. With this in mind, our mission statement at KBLA Talk 1580 is simple: to create an inclusive platform that promotes civil discourse through honest dialogue and encourages personal growth among our listeners, so they can become the active agents of change. Our vision is to establish ourselves as the premier radio network with relevant programming across the beloved community, connecting people through shared experiences and collective power for lasting impact beyond these challenging times.
First things first.
First things first, it's the DU General, Money B. I'ma put you up on the schedule, 6 to 9, 8 weekdays, not to unsettle you. Let's go. We got a lot to talk about, so much to pedal through. Unapologetically progressive. Tune to KBLA 1580 to get the mess. We're your ancestors' favorite radio station. First black on talk radio, left side of the nation. Me and Dominique DePrima go way back. Tag Smiley making sure the station stays black. Discussing all the issues in our community. We're hosted black and brown and others find unity. So let's talk about it. Maybe we can improve it. Digital underground, always down with the movement. So we tune in to First Things First with the Queen of Black Talk Radio, Dominique DePrima. Go sis.
First things first.
KBLA Talk 1580. Good morning and God bless. I'm Dominique DePrima. This show right here is called First Things First, and my first thing every day, giving thanks, giving praise, asking for blessings from God, asking for the blessings of the ancestors and the elders. And let's go. This is what we are supposed to be doing on purpose, on point. Happy Hump Day. It is a Wealth Building Wednesday around here. That means in hour 2, you'll get to meet a Black BIPOC owned or women owned small business, perhaps a socially innovative enterprise. If you'd like to be considered to be spotlighted on one of our Wealth Building Wednesdays, all you have to do is hit me up on social media. We're KBLA 1580 on every platform. X, Instagram, YouTube, all of those places. And you can find me at DiPrima Radio, DiPrima, and then radio. You can find Miles at Miles Low Music. Follow, like, subscribe. And you know what? Yesterday, I'm thankful to all of you who show up in the YouTubes. I be trying to be awake and be cute. Some days works better than others. But anyway, youtube.com, KBLA 1580. Please hit the like button, subscribe button. That helps. All these things make a difference, and we appreciate you. You know what we do? Hour one, we look to the local. Usually, we have a partner in politics. Hour two, we'll, on a Wealth Building Wednesday, we'll spotlight that business, and then we'll go to these phones. Boy, we have a jam-packed show today, so get in where you fit in, which is now 800-920-1580, or any hour, 800-920-1580. Happy birthday, Kobe Bryant. Yes, indeed. What else have we got going on today? Oh, we're going to be hearing from former school superintendent Austin Butner. He's got a lot to say about the shutdown of the LAUSD for Hurricane Hillary. And then we'll be checking in with Powerhouse Entertainment attorney Nyanza Shah, who will be in the studio. So it's going to be a great day around here. And I'm glad you are with us. And speaking of a great day, I'm joined this morning by one of the presidents. That's right. He's the president of Cal State Dominguez Hills, a family man. He lives in Southern California with his wife, Davida Parham, and he's the 11th president of Cal State Dominguez Hills, which is a highly diverse metropolitan university primarily serving the South Central and South Bay areas of LA County. President Thomas Parham, good morning.
Good morning, Dominique. How are you? And how are all our listeners this morning on Wednesday?
I think everybody's doing pretty good. We made it to the hump, which means we made it up the hill. Thank you for blessing our mics this morning, Dr. Parham.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you for blessing me with the invitation. And as this is first things first, I want to say Ashe to that shout out to the Creator and ancestors and thank them for guiding our way. And I hope that we continue to fulfill rather than betray the legacy we've been blessed to inherit. So with that, let's get to cracking.
Well, since you're talking about legacies that have been inherited, certainly Cal State Dominguez Hills, people, I think we somewhat take it for granted, but it does have quite a legacy and impact in terms of, educating the general public and also some scholars that, have gone on to national and international note.
Absolutely. The university, as it was founded in 1960, was first located to be Cal State College Palos Verdes in the Palos Verdes Peninsula. When they stood up the first building. Right. So stay with me on this one. When they stood up the first buildings and opened the first programs in the early 60s, shortly thereafter, I think, came the Watts Rebellion in 1965. And then Governor Edmund G. Brown flew down to the area and along with some of the other city fathers and other folks, decided that they needed to create a gateway and a door of opportunity for the residents of the urban core of South Central Los Angeles. And so they made a decision then to relocate the campus from Palos Verdes into the city of Carson, which was an unincorporated area of the county, now city, and on the Dominguez Ranch. So now we sit at kind of the elbow joint between South Central LA to the north and the South Bay region to the west and south. And so we are a campus that was founded out of social justice roots. And so that is always baked into the DNA of the campus, and you can find that even reflected within our academic programs. So we are very proud of that particular legacy and continue to serve the people in ways in which a lot of other universities don't.
That's so important. I think there's a lot of conversation all the time everywhere among Black people about how protesting doesn't make a difference. And then we march and we do all this stuff and nothing comes out of it. But I just think we forget what comes out of it. I mean, can you imagine how much less accessible Cal State Dominguez Hills would be KBLA delegation to our community if it had stayed in Palos Verdes.
Well, and the accessibility issue, I think, is key, but it's also key for another reason. In these days, and what I've argued as president in now my 6th year, is that historically institutions pride themselves on what I call their selectivity ratios. So aren't we wonderful that we only take the top 4, 6, or 10% of students in a graduating high school class, and that becomes their measure of excellence? I've been an Ivy League professor in my life, spent 33 years after that at the University of California at Irvine, and now I'm at Cal State Dominguez Hills. But I can take a 4.0 student and keep him or her 4.0. That's easy. What I want is the student who can be a 2.3, but has the potential to be that 2.5, the 2.5 who can be a 3.0, the 3.0 who can be a 3.5, a 3.7 to go into medical school or to take my role as a psychologist and president one day, because it's about trying to cultivate that potential. And so we measure our success in education by the lives we transform, not by how many students that we keep out because, we put our nose in the air and are proud of the selectivity ratios we have. And that's why I'm so proud not only to be the president of Cal State University Dominguez Hills, but to be a part of the Cal State system generally that educates, I think, a much broader swath of the state citizenry, particularly since the Cal State system is the largest system of public higher education in all of America. We take a backseat to nobody on that one.
Talking with Cal State Dominguez Hills President, Dr. Thomas A. Parham. You can call 800-920-1580 if you got a question, comment, conversation. I have quite a few, as always, but that's my job. Today's episode of First Things First is brought to you by Wealth Management Financial Advisors, offering tax services, financial planning, and so much more. They've helped me. Let them help you. Find them at wealthmanagementlb.com. I'm Dominique DePrima. It's a Wealth Building Wednesday on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
Did you know addiction to drugs like meth or cocaine is a disease and not a choice? But getting help is. If you have stimulant use disorder, you, your family, and friends may have a lot of questions, including where to start. Choose Change California can help. Make a change today and find a proven treatment option for you at choosechangeca.org.
Hello, I'm Will Jimeno. I'm a retired Port Authority police detective and a 9/11 survivor. For 13 hours, I was buried under the rubble of the World Trade Center. I was rescued thanks to brave people who were willing to put their own lives on the line to save mine. For 9/11 this year, a National Day of Service, I'll be paying it forward by taking time to help others. Please join me by doing your own good deed that day. Visit 911day.org.
If this were a Reese's TV ad, you'd be staring at a Reese's peanut butter cup. And sure, my voice is peanut buttery smooth, but still, you need to see the peanut butter cups, right? No? I can really just say Reese's and you'll go get some? Okay, Reese's. 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 Really working, actually. Reese's. Reese's. I'm on to something. Reese's. Reese's. Reese's.
Don't settle for bumps, ingrowns, and itch due to dry skin. Venus for Pubic Hair and Skin is here with the only razor and regimen specifically designed for your pubic area, featuring a razor with a patented irritation defense bar and skincare regimen that is dermatologist and gynecologist tested. Venus helps protect your pubic skin from shave irritation. Visit GilletteVenus.com to learn more about our full regimen of products.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Race, culture wars, political turf battles, criminal justice and injustice, the courts. These are the conversations you won't hear elsewhere. My guests are leading journalists, celebrities, and sports figures, elected leaders, and influencers. They aren't afraid to get into it and say the quiet part out loud. With Ariva Martin in real time, your commute just became the most engaging part of your day. Tune in weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. or find us on YouTube. Ariva Martin in real time, when you want it straight, no chaser.
Unapologetically Seriously progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. Your ancestors' favorite radio station. And your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DePrima right now.
Right now, we're talking with Cal State Dominguez Hills President, Dr. Thomas A. Parham. And, as he mentioned, he previously served as a Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs and an adjunct faculty member at UC Irvine. He's been in administration for many years, but he also has worked in the Counseling Center as a director of Career and Life Planning Center. So when you talk about getting those folks that are a 2.5 that could go to a 3 or a 3 that could go to a 3.7 or whatever, you're talking not just from a theoretical, but also that hands-on perspective of someone who is a licensed psychologist and knows what a lot of our children are facing. And I tee that up to say, Dr. Parham, as a mama who is, in the process, has been going through the process of college applications with my own child, it's really a fraught time for kids. I think every single parent was told, oh, well, the universities and colleges are looking at the impact of COVID, but that turns out to be not true. I haven't seen any in our journey through this, I haven't seen any accommodation for that or really consideration of it. You're talking about it, kids applying out now who basically have their entire high school experience robbed by a pandemic, and yet so many folks are just going by an algorithm or a set of criteria, as you mentioned. So how do we recover from this pandemic, especially as BIPOC and Black students and families, if universities are really just giving it lip service, as far as I'm concerned and what I've seen as a mama?
So there are a couple pieces I would respond to that. So let me talk first about universities and admission. And then next I want to circle back around to that notion of recovery that you talked about, which I think is important. I think I would invite our listeners to not square the edge, but round the corner on that perspective in terms of the flexibility universities are giving folk on admissions. And I say that for the following reason. As a university administrator and or faculty member, I've been an academic all my life since I was an Ivy League professor way back in the 80s. But this is the first generation of folk coming through now in these last couple of years where we are not able to accurately predict what actually those grade point averages that students earn mean, because there's been a fair amount of flexibility given to students by the high schools and even the community colleges that they've been in. And so we don't know whether folk have been, A, socially promoted, B, given that kind of deference because of the challenges they had to deal with in COVID in that space. And because they've had to do this principally online without really engaging their teachers and their fellow pupils, it makes it difficult to be able to predict what that's like. What you've also seen, I think, certainly in California, but also around the nation, is certainly an adherence to the high standards, I think, that some folks try to embrace, but also a flexibility on one of the key, I think, metrics that historically has kept a lot of people out of college, or at least deferring to different colleges, which has been test scores. So you've seen a relaxing of the requirement to be able to have SATs and ACT scores and what that score really means for folks. So I don't know that I would go as hard and fast on the rule that they have been insensitive or unwavering in terms of their criteria and support for students getting admitted. So let me say that for
I don't mean to imply, like, oh, my kid is some slacker. No, you got into plenty of places. But the point is, I don't see it built in to the application system other than what you said. But that move away from testing, the SATs and ACTs, that was happening long before the pandemic.
Well, exactly. And so what the pandemic did was reinforce, I think, some of that. But those have been trends that have been going on as higher education has really struggled to try to figure out what is the best way to provide access to the state citizenry, continue to produce excellence in both the academics and research that they offer, and to try to keep education affordable. Meaning California alone, the California Snob I Am, California has always been anchored in a three-legged stool for higher education, which is about excellence, access, and affordability. And so it's trying to keep those things, in the forefront of people's minds. And in the Cal State University system, I can speak confidently about, we are trying to provide the most access to students in that space. As are, I think, other institutions, the University of California, or even where I was in the Ivy League, where they're trying to find the best and most diverse class that they can in order to take advantage of the educational resources in those institutions.
Right, then, of course, the question of, retention and kids staying and doing well while they're there. I'm sure all of these conversations have got ramped up in urgency now with the Supreme Court ruling prohibiting affirmative action. Talk to me about, Cal State Dominguez Hills and our systems, commitment to Black student success, not just getting folks in, but making sure they stay and graduate.
Right, and that particular piece I think is important, which is what, excuse me, to that second point I wanted to go, because you talked about how people recover. And even as a psychologist, and coming out of the pandemic, I've tried not to use the word recovery, because recovery assumes that what you're recovering back to was normal and healthy in the first place. So I tend to use the words transform.
Okay.
What crisis does, Dominic, is it does three things in my mind. One, it reveals character. It certainly did in the last White House. When crisis hit, you saw the character of the former president come in on full display. But secondly, what crisis does is it exposes weakness. But it also, thirdly, it reveals opportunity. And so part of what we have tried to do in the Cal State system, and particularly at Cal State University Dominguez Hills, which we call the People's Place, is to transform the campus in a way that allowed us to be better positioned to be able to meet the needs of our students. So the question now that I'm trying to ask, and I write this in periodicals as I contribute to the narrative and the discourse nationally, is not whether students are meritorious enough to be admitted to a campus, but the real question we should be asking is whether a campus is ready to receive the gifted, talented, intellectually capable students who are applying to our particular institutions. So having said that, you asked the question about the Supreme Court decision and how that fared. What's true about those of us in California, I don't know how much real impact that decision will have on us. Principally because for a long time we've had Proposition 209 since, the early to mid-90s, if my memory is correct. Mm-hmm. So Proposition 209 has installed prohibitions on race-based anything. So whether it's admissions, whether it's financial aid, whether it's scholarships. If someone said, I have $1 million I want to give to a university, but I wanted to go to Black students and we couldn't make it. So we've had those kind of prohibitions in place. I want to say it's the state of Michigan who put in Prop 2, if I remember right. They've similarly had those kind of prohibitions in place. So the Supreme Court's ruling will impact a lot of other states in the nation versus, what's going on in California. But more importantly, it's gonna help to really anchor a set of narratives and values about what it is that people really care about. Because if you care about educating this generation of folk, if you care about creating both social and economic opportunity for this generation of people, the question is, how do we best ensure that happens even with these obstacles in place? And so we come from a people where grandma and grandpa said you got to find a way to make a way out of no way. And so we've been used to doing that all of our lives, certainly in this soldier and in this country. And so we will continue to press that. And what I'm excited about, even prior to the release of the Supreme Court's decision, is the California State University stood up an initiative that is called Advancing Black Student Success and Elevating Black Excellence within the California State University system. And it's fascinating, Dominique, because this initiative goes all the way back to June of 2022, when the CSU system held its first ever Juneteenth symposium. And that 2-day symposium that was so large, I was honored to be the host of it for the entire system. And it's the first time that we really celebrated Juneteenth, but I wanted that symposium to be more than just a 2-hour celebration of aren't we wonderful that back in 1863 and 5 the emancipation happened, but some folks didn't get the word till 1865 and aren't we glad. If emancipation was supposed to be about freedom, then what I tried to do was interrogate the question of what does freedom for, in academic spaces look like in 2022? So we brought together some of the leading scholars and activists and thinking minds in the country, and across that 2-day period, put together a symposium I think that was second to none. But I say that because in the end of the symposium, the last session that we did, and it was one that I participated on with our interim chancellor, Jolene Kester, and Dr. Kester was there, along with Secretary of State Shirley Weber. And we did the takeoff on Martin Luther King's 1967 text on where do we go from here. And where do we go from here was what are we going to now do about, Black students and Black success and really what freedom looks like in education. And so to Chancellor Kester's credit, she took the reins and exercised the courageous voice to stand up a committee on Black student success and elevating Black excellence within the entire California State University system, so that if we are the biggest system on the block, then we ought to act like the big kids on the block, which is what we did in producing that report that was just released this past year, just prior to Juneteenth. And so in the report, we have invited people to do a couple of things, which is important for our listeners. I need them to hear me well on this. We invited the system to abandon the romantic illusion that there was such a thing called Black equity within the California State University system. Secondly, we invited them to develop a divine dissatisfaction with the way things had always been in favor of the way things might be with a little bit more intentionality. And you find those two phrases even in the opening letter that I've co-signed with my colleague, Saul Jimenez Sandoval. And Dr. Sandoval is president of Fresno State University within the Cal State system as well. And so we're very proud of the work, along with the about 16 other people who served on that committee from both the system-wide as well as all the campuses across the state of California. And that is now the blueprint that we are using to be able to measure and promote Black excellence and elevate success of Black students, faculty, and staff within the California State University system.
Yeah, we've got news, traffic, and sports right here, President Parham. But I do want to drill down a little bit into that. And one of the things that the report says is, starting with the principle that none of this stuff is going to happen without intentionality, without being strategic and clear about the fact that these are your goals. And I think it's important for folks to know this is actually happening somewhere, because we constantly hear, as you say, reports about how we've been pushed out. That ain't new for Cali. Let's talk about how we're being called in. News, traffic, and sports, then more with President Dr. Thomas Parham on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a Wednesday. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Reports now suggest that former Trump attorney and New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani will surrender himself today in the Georgia election interference criminal case. ABC News now reporting Giuliani will head to Atlanta. Giuliani's lawyers will reportedly work with African-American District Attorney Fonnie Willis's office on a bond package beforehand. Some GOP voters in Wisconsin are expressing their disappointment in former President Trump's decision to skip tonight's debate. Most of the group of voters speaking with Fox News ahead of the debate said not taking part is a missed opportunity for Trump. The voters said that they will look for one of the candidates participating in the debate to emerge as someone who can challenge Trump for the Republican nomination. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Calling all night owls, Buffalo Wild Wings is open late. Fill up on some tasty apps with an ice cold tall beer starting at $4. Late night food and drinks start at $4 from 10 till close at B-Dubs. Limited time at participating locations. Offers, days, and times may vary. Drink responsibly. Void where prohibited. Tax and fees extra.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
I'm a bad man.
13 years after the NCAA shut him down and took his Heisman Trophy, former USC star Reggie Bush is hitting back with a lawsuit. Bush is suing the NCAA for defamation of character. Bush has scheduled a press conference Wednesday morning at the Coliseum to discuss his lawsuit. Bush claims the NCAA made false allegations about him in 2021 when the organization announced it was not reinstating his collegiate records or returning his Heisman Trophy. The NCAA reported that Bush had a pay-for-play arrangement when he was at USC from 2002 to 2005. Bush was also accused of receiving improper benefits, including a mortgage-free home for his family. To this day, Bush has not denied that he accepted improper benefits from an alleged USC booster. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Maisha Cairo here with a quick recap from my time at JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. There were speakers Ian Dunlap, Damon John, Lynn Richardson, MC Light, Dom Kennedy, to name a few. Take a listen to what Justin Grant, Community Development Lead at Chase's Advancing Black Pathway, let's see what he had to say.
So I'm Justin Grant. I lead community development and national partnerships for JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Pathway strategy. And so we're focused on strengthening the economic foundation of black communities, and we're making targeted investments in programs like the Advancing Black Wealth Tour to help us get our tools and resources out to the community to drive sustained impact over time.
So when it comes to black and brown people, it sounds like Chase is making it their personal responsibility not only to facilitate these events, but to educate and provide resources. So, Mr. Grant, I have to ask, what does wealth building look like for the individual?
It's home ownership, it's having that freedom to be able to start your own business and create jobs in your community, and it's having that long-term plan towards retirement, having that vision for what you want your life to be, and you have the resources to actually live it.
I'm Maisha Cairo. Thanks for sticking around. That was my recap from Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. First stop was here in LA, and they're taking it national.
When it comes to special needs educational and health resources, Special Needs Network has you covered. On Saturday, August 26th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Jane Addams Park in Lawndale, Special Needs Network and California Assemblywoman Tina McKinnon invite you and your entire family for a fun-filled day at a back-to-school and health fair. Featuring music, live performances, exhibitions from your favorite professional LA sports teams, a petting zoo, pony rides, a kids zone, and professional haircuts for kids and teens. Get critical early identification and intervention resources, health and dental screenings, bags of fresh fruits and vegetables, and an opportunity to win fantastic prizes. Free backpacks and school supplies while they last for students, and a chance to win a free cell phone or tablet from TrueConnect with an EBT card. Visit SNNLA.org or on Facebook or Instagram at Special Needs Network.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
And we are talking with Cal State Dominguez Hills president, Dr. Thomas A. Parham. As he said, he's been in academics his whole life, is a licensed clinical psychologist. The Black Student Success Work Group and the work that's being done around, as you say, elevating Black excellence and advancing Black student success. Is something I don't know if many people are aware of. There's this report that you've done. It's quite interesting in some of the findings. Some surprised me, and some just I said amen. I mean, you have a quote from one of the student listening sessions talking about how Black student success is not embedded in campus community. If not for Black faculty and staff, we wouldn't have representatives. That was definitely my experience way back when I was in college. I'm quite sure that if it wasn't for my professors, my Black professors, I don't know that I would have. I don't know that I would have stayed the course.
Well, and it's important to, remember that if in fact we judge our students to be capable, which I do, then part of what we have to do is realize that our educational institutions are the gardens that are designed to cultivate the intellect that these students possess. But I think what we have found through the report is that there's some of the elements of the garden, despite our best intent, that are less than wholesome, and in some cases, according to narratives by the students, are less than healthy environments. And so part of what we want to do is to address that.
Yeah.
What's interesting about the report, though, that a lot of people can't see, I think, in the deep structure rather than the surface structure, which they can read, is that the California State University system and its Board of Trustees has always aspired to try to help support students generally, be they white, Black, blue, brown, or purple. And that's part of the makeup of the system, even as they provide access to as many people as possible. But what this report has done, and again, anchored and coming out of the Juneteenth work, is allowed us to more intentionally interrogate, is there a cohort of students who are not faring as well as we'd like? Dominic, in the human condition, there's always a gap between our aspirational selves and our real selves. And so our goal is to be able to close that gap to try to help us live our best life and realize our best aspirations. And so what this report has revealed is that, A, the pipeline is a little too small. And so when you see we start out talking about the journey to and through the CSU, when you look at the entering classes from, I think we measured 5 years from 2016 to 2021, you can see how small the pipeline is getting, not only with the number of Black students who are graduating from high school, but also those who are completing all the A through G requirements, apply for admission, are admitted, and then ultimately accept the offer to come to the CSU. And then as it drills down, are ultimately finishing and graduating with their degrees. What we found out is that data did not look as good as we would like it to look in the Cal State University system, which is now what we are gearing ourselves up with a little bit more intentionality to address that in a very specific and intentional way.
Yeah, I want to give Willie from Palmdale a chance to ask you a question or make a quick comment. Hi, Willie.
Good morning, Dominique, and good morning to your guest. Yes, Dr. Thomas, I want to ask you, is there a curriculum for emotional intelligence curriculum as far as trying to get students to have high IQs?
So there is curriculum that supports that, but I would invite you to remember that curriculum is both academic and co-curricular, so that there are classes you can have in psychology majors, sometime in business, and other academic fields that do teach folk about emotional intelligence. But probably 30, 40, maybe 50% of what a student will learn in their 4 years of college, they will learn outside of the four walls of the classroom in co-curricular ways. So some of that work that you can do happens in your participation in clubs and organizations. It happens in your engagement in the residence halls. It happens in, with faculty research labs and other things that you can be involved in. Some of that even happens as you are a student out working in an internship connected to the community or another nonprofit entity beyond the borders of the campus boundary. So yes, that emotional intelligence is something that is talked about a lot. and you can find it in both of those spaces. Thank you for your question, brother.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that 95% of CSUs have black student unions. I would have guessed a lower number, I guess.
Well, and that's why I say that I remind folks that with this report that the CSU's commitment to black students is not new. What is new is the look that we have taken with it now that says that we are falling short of what our aspiration and goal is. And so that's why there's a re-engagement and an intensification of that effort to be able to do some of this work, which is what that report represents.
And that doesn't run afoul of an affirmative action ban, which, as you point out, we've had in this state for a very long time.
Right. And some of the work, we are committed to supporting students, whether they are, Caucasian, Latinx, African American, Asian American, Indian, international, whatever. So all students we expect to thrive and survive. We expect all students to be able to achieve while they are in the midst of our and their educational journey. But again, what this report reveals is that despite our best intentions, that there's some folk who are faring less than others, and so we need to dedicate resources to move in that direction. It doesn't mean that we are excluding anybody, but we're trying to be more inclusive of those folk who are struggling mightily.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, and again, it's a really data-driven approach, which is what we always want to see, right? What do the numbers say? What's actually happening? Not to downplay our opinions, but a data-driven approach allows us to respond to the actual conditions on the ground, right?
Right, and the data for us is important as the scientists that lots of us are, but it's also, I think, a mix of, the content and the perspectives of the people. And what are the things that we argued as a committee when we stood up the report and did the investigation is that it is difficult to develop interventions in absence of consultation with the people that the interventions are designed to serve. So when I talked about listening to the voices of everyday people, which was the subtitle of the Juneteenth symposium we did back in 22 and carried over into this particular group, we actually held listening sessions where we gathered the voices of everyday people that were students throughout the state, faculty throughout the state, and staff throughout the state. And so you hear their voices reflected in the report as well. So you can see the mix and the synthesis of both the data-driven intention as well as the voices of the everyday people who really inform and frame the narratives that we had a chance to look at and are now standing up to be able to make deliberate and intentional interventions that we hope will help arrest the tide of challenge, I think, that some of our students are struggling with.
43% of California black high school graduates are eligible for a UC or CSU. Is that the pipeline you're talking about? I mean, that's not ideal, but it's sadly it's better than what I probably would have guessed.
Well, and if you aggregate the data and say that 43% of them are eligible, that's nice, except what it tells you is that 57% of them are not. That's way too many for me.
Yeah.
As an educator. Also, I think the criteria to be admitted into a UC versus a Cal State is very different. And so I think while the UC has its role within California's master plan, as does the Cal State and our community college brothers and sisters, what we also want to remember is that I think the California State University system, Dominique, in my mind, has always had a mission of educating the broadest swatch of the state citizenry. And so even at the Dominguez Hills campus, you'll find students, right, who I mentor, even as a president, I take that time, who are 4.3 students, number one in their class and came. I'm thinking of a student, in fact, who participated in our African American Leaders of Tomorrow program that is sponsored by the Legislative Black Caucus in the summer. And after attending that, determined that Dominguez Hills was her top choice. So she bypassed Davis and Berkeley and UCLA and SC and all those places to come down to a place like Dominguez Hills because of both the curriculum as well as the rich diversity of the campus. But what's also true is that I've got those 2.3 and 2.5 students who those institutions would never even think about admitting because they wouldn't qualify. And I think that there are criteria that they can use to adhere to that. But to me, at this point in my career, what I want to be engaged in are trying to provide the broadest access to the state citizenry, realizing that there may be individuals whose talent may be more latent than visible, who maybe didn't predict well on their test scores, or maybe didn't predict well on their grades, or maybe didn't have the most wholesome home environment or school environment, but it doesn't make them any less intellectually capable. And if I can get that seed and put it in this garden of intellectual resources, we can help them sprout and turn into what it is that they were always meant to be. And that's why we take so much pride, in fact, in the ranking we received a couple of years ago that said that this campus was rated number 2 for social and economic mobility in improving the trajectory of students once they come into college and how that now changes once they graduate. So that part I'm really proud of. In addition, I should say this as I'm on this road now, that we pride ourselves on not just being in the community, but of the community. So we don't have borders and walls and iron gates around our campus to keep people out. We're trying to invite the community in. So whether we have legislators who are doing their work or coming to hold town hall forums on everything from homelessness to gun violence, whether we're doing backpack giveaways for school children, whether we are, providing theater and arts and athletic events on campus, we want the community to be engaged in our campus, not somehow kept out of our campus. And that's why we're proud, for example, with some of the initiatives we've recently stood up. We have partnered with Kelly Todd Griffin and the California Black Women's Collective to stand up the California Black Women's Think Tank.
Right, and
what was the Legislative Black Caucus for that? It's impressive, but that's an example of the kind of things that we're doing at the campus that will ultimately benefit, I think, not only Black students but all students.
Talking with Cal State Dominguez Hills President Dr. Thomas Parham. When we come forward, I want to talk about access. What should people know? How can we help improve it? And how can we best utilize the programs and policies that you're putting forth for Black excellence and Black success? It's KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
Escalade IQ. This the intro to the all-electric Cadillac, perfection like Zoom. And on a full charge, you get 450 miles without the stop. Haiku. This is what I do. Daddy fat intellect since 92. Linked all the way back, panoramic roof. Coming 24-inch rim standard. Ooh, why? Shawty don't kill him. Cadillac diamond in the back, cold chillin'. And when I'm on attack, on the track is no ceiling. Sky's the limit. You me? Straight drop, no parachutes. Lay lines like a longitude and latitude. Feel it, beloved, clearly we're hustling. Bussin', truckin'. Cadillac.
For more on the Escalade IQ, visit Cadillac.com.
Available late 2024. GM estimate 450-mile range. On a full charge based on development testing and/or analytical projection. Consistent with the CHA 1634 revision 2017 MCT. Range subject to change prior to production. Annual rates may vary based on service factors, including ambience, temperature, terrain, battery age, and condition loading, and how you use and maintain your vehicle.
The Los Angeles Urban League helps African American and others in underserved communities achieve true social parity, economic self-reliance, and civil rights. For over 100 years, Los Angeles Urban League has ensured our communities have access to careers with living wages, opportunities to start and grow businesses, and clear pathways to personal and professional growth. Programs like BizCamp, Construction Career Academy, Bob Business Ready, and B-Warp. The Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Program are examples of the ongoing events designed to make our centennial mission to rebuild Black Wall Street right here in LA a reality. To sign up for our newsletter or to support the Los Angeles Urban League with your time, talent, and donations, visit laul.org. That's laul.org. The Los Angeles Urban League is a proud sponsor of Urban Family Focus, Saturdays at 7 a.m. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Have you heard about Lendustry?
Lendistry is a national Black-led small business lender that is headquartered right here in LA. Once you've started your business, Lendistry provides flexible financing options starting at $50,000 to help you access the affordable capital needed to grow. Whether financing is needed to increase working capital, acquire a business, purchase inventory and equipment, or refinance debt, Lendistry has a solution for you. Lending products range from traditional business term loans and non-revolving lines of credit to SBA 7A loans and commercial real estate financing. Lendistry's pre-application process is simple and does not impact your credit score. Visit lendistry.com/KBLA to learn more and to get started with an application right from the website.
Heard any other talk radio lately that sounds anything like this? We didn't think so. You're listening to Unapologetically Progressive, KBLA Talk 1580.
And we're talking with Cal State Dominguez Hills president, Dr. Thomas Parham. Let's go to Mike calling us from L.A. Hi, Mike. You're on with Dr. Parham.
Good morning, Doctor. Good morning, Dominique. Doctor, I think I heard you say that like 40% people are eligible for college and the other 60%. I just want to know what's your opinion of the unified school district getting kids prepared for school, and your opinion as far as them taking the trades and vocations out of school, and should they be put back in school as soon as possible so these kids can be ready for society when they get out of high school.
Thanks, Mike. We talk about this all the time. It's one of those tropes that people constantly sort of refer to, which is that we need to put trades back in schools. And I think the other question about how well our children are being prepared to succeed in college is also interesting.
Yeah, Mike, thanks for your question, brother. I appreciate that, and one I think our viewers should pay attention to as well. Is there a place, I think, for the trades to be in schools, and particularly in our community colleges? I think the answer is yes. I don't know that I would put it in high school because I think it's too important to connect to the basics of education there and then begin to make that separation once you graduate from that space. What I would say, though, is that we spend a lot of time talking about our schools versus, the students' preparation. And I would invite you and others to consider that success for African-American people has always been contingent in my mind on having a three-legged stool. And actually not even a three-legged stool. I would call it a triangle for success, more accurately. It includes the home, the school, and community. So while school has to do its part to create that nurturing environment, the home has to be able to be the anchor of which a lot of that, the values and the principles and really the behaviors are reinforced and supported at home. And there has to be support from the community. I think right now the triangle exists, but the angles aren't connected up because each of us blames the other for the failure of our children. Home thinks school is the problem. So they're designing interventions to have kids in home more and less at school. School thinks home is the problem. So they're designing interventions to keep kids at school longer and away from home. The community, including our faith-based community, think both are the problem. So the communities are designing interventions through our nonprofit organizations, 100 Black Men, churches, et cetera. But everybody's trying to do things because everybody knows our children are at risk. But we've got to be able to connect up if we're going to be successful, that triangle, so that the home, the school, and the community are all singing from the same sheet of music. And our parents have to know, how do you best contribute to the intellectual and personal growth and development of your child, whether they want to pursue a higher education degree or, in fact, move off into the trade. That's a decision they can make once they get into college or community college in particular. But I don't think I would invite people to put that actually into high school.
How can we support, and what can we do to access the programs you're building? We'll look at that when we come forward with Dr. Thomas Parham on KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to here with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
Hello, I'm Will Jimeno. I'm a retired Port Authority police detective and a 9/11 survivor. For 13 hours, I was buried under the rubble of the World Trade Center. I was rescued thanks to brave people who were willing to put their own lives on the line to save mine. For 9/11 this year, a National Day of Service, I'll be paying it forward by taking time to help others. Please join me by doing your own good deed that day. Visit 911day.org.
Hi, it's Tavis Smiley. KBLA Talk 1580 is inviting you to join us on Saturday, September 16th, 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. for our very first economic empowerment event for the community. This event is free and is powered by Caltrans. We're doing this in association with Rambo House, and here's Rambo to tell you more.
Contracts. I'm going to say it again for all of us small business owners out there. Contracts. Rambo House, KBLA, Tavis, me. Oh my God, this is going to be massive. I truly thank Caltrans for giving us the opportunity to focus on contracts. Listen, that's what it's all about to be a small business in LA. That's how we hire our own. That's how we expand our community is contracts. KBLA1580.com is for you to have a seat at our contracts-focused event. Contract Ready does it again. We had over 900 last time. So you guys know how exciting this is. And if you just think that you want to get into contracts and you're close to it, bring your friends out for September 16th at the Marriott Hotel. Listen, you know where to register. KBLA1580.com. Come see me. I can't wait to see you. Let's do it, Tavis.
So be sure to go to KBLA1580.com for all the details. We'll see you Saturday, September 16th.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate loses and love wins.
President Thomas A. Parham of Cal State Dominguez Hills is with us this morning, and time flies, man. I had a whole nother slate of questions for you, but let's just wrap up today with, your thoughts on access, how we can help you build it, and how we can connect with the programs that you are already working on.
So thank you for having me, and please give my best to Brother Tavis as well. But I want to say that access is going to be important. In a day when it used to cost us our life if the slave master knew how to read, all we have to do now is decide that we want to read the book. So we have to be able to do our jobs in our families and homes of helping our kids to read, to study, and to discipline their behavior in a way to make sure that they get their school lessons done. We have to also make sure that we interrogate the environments within the schools that we are sending our kids to, so that we have communities and parents maximally involved in supporting the education and the teachers that are very dedicated to trying to help improve our children. Making sure that we have engaged school leadership in our schools to make sure that they are supporting the policies and practices that will help our children best succeed. And then we've got to be able to coalition around helping our communities support our state legislators to make sure that we are appropriately funding our schools, colleges, and universities in ways that allow them to not only have provide maximum access, but allow them to support the intellectual dreams and aspirations of our students. Our colleges and universities in this state are way underfunded. And while we are excited about the possibilities that we can provide on campus, I'm clear that we could do so much more if we had a greater source of, I think, funding for our colleges and universities who are doing your person's work at trying to educate this next generation of students coming forward.
Of course, they can visit CSUDH.edu, CSUDH.edu. That's the website for Cal State Dominguez Hills. And what else would you like us, as far as access, do you want us to follow you? Got about a minute here, or any other spots you'd like us to stop by?
Yeah, you can certainly follow me, but really I am just a servant leader. I would rather you follow my campus, Cal State University Dominguez Hills, CSUDH.edu. Know that we have 89% students of color, 66% Latinx, maybe second most in the state, 12% Black folk, 11.5%. That is the largest percentage of Black students of any public university in the entire state of California. So we want you to know that this is the people's house. This is your home, and we'd like you to come check it out and take a look at what it is that we're doing. It is not your grandmama's Dominguez Hills any longer. It's a new place, and we are ready for you to come check out what we're doing on campus.
Dr. Thomas A. Parham, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Wealth Building Wednesday is coming up. We also are taking your phone calls always, and we'll be hearing from former LAUSD Superintendent Austin Buettner. All that ahead on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a Wednesday. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Reports now suggest that former Trump attorney and New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani will surrender himself today in the Georgia election interference criminal case. ABC News now reporting Giuliani will head to Atlanta. Giuliani's lawyers will reportedly work with African-American District Attorney Fonnie Willis's office on a bond package beforehand. Some GOP voters in Wisconsin are expressing their disappointment in former President Trump's decision to skip tonight's debate. Most of the group of voters speaking with Fox News ahead of the debate said not taking part is a